by people. But what happened is Rabitzach Shaloi Nigmardinoi was mixed in with other Rotzchim Shenigmardina. Now you can't kill him if it's Loi Nigmardinoi. And being that we don't know which one he is, we don't know which is the one that Nigmardinoi was not Nigmardinoi. We can't kill anybody. And therefore the Tanakhama says they're al potter. And Rabbi Huda said, no, in such a case, we can't let him go free. They're him. So what we do is we're continuing to keep. That was the first job. But in this case, the case is where we knew that this individual was Ritzach, but he got mixed in with others. Rish Lakish says it's not speaking about an Adam, it's speaking about a behemoth. And it's the same machloek. They're both hold so you wouldn't be able to kill the shar, and the Yehuda says so Amar Rava, neither of these two pshatim will be consistent with a brisa that we have on this Mishnah. Yachi Hani de Katani Allah. Amar Rabbi Yosy said, Afilu Abba Chalafta benem. Even if one of the two suspected murderers is Abba Chalafta, who's a tzaddik gomer, and there's no chance in the world that he killed, you still can't prove that the other guy is the Yitzhak. The problem over here is the way we're learning, this whole thing doesn't make any sense. First of all, according to Rish Lakish, speaking about animals. And according to Shmuel, we're speaking about a guy who we already know he's a Yitzhak. It's not that we don't know who's the guilty of killing. We know who's guilty of killing. He got mixed in with others. So that doesn't make sense either. So Zok to Gemara, Ella Amarava, Hachi Ka'ama. If you want to learn this stickle with Rabbi Yosy, then you'll have to have a completely different pshat of the Mishnah, not only a completely different pshat of the Mishnah, but a completely different gersh in the Mishnah. And this is how you would learn. There are two people standing, and a arrow went flying. We don't know who shot the arrow, but it definitely was one of these two people. The Harig, and this arrow killed. The halach is Shnei and Peturin. They're both potter. I'm not sure how the Hasra would have happened. Or maybe they were both warned, and they're both potter because we don't know who did it. Even if one of these two people was Abba Chalafta, so you might think surely the other person did it. Nevertheless, Dr. Yosy, no one saw him. We don't know, so we did it. So it's a whole different case from what Shmuel and Rish Lakish has been learning. Now, what about the next case? You can't say that there's a machlokes where the Tanakhama says everyone's potter and Rabbi Yehuda holds everyone gets killed, because how could you kill both of them, right? You know one of them didn't kill. So that must be speaking about a different case. The shor shenigmar dinai, a shor that was already nigmar dinai, shenis'arev b'shvar macherim me'alya, that were mixed with other oxen that were regular normal oxen. The halach is cyclonoisam. You kill them all. Rabbi Yehuda Aimer kantin oison lakipa. Now, why cyclonoison? Because the halach is once they're mixed in, they're all asher bana anyway. So all of the other owners, they lost their oxen anyway, because the Shranishkal is asher bana. If you just said, why should you be matriach to Bezdin to kill all these oxen? So you just put them into a kippah and let them die. V'atanya, this is b'ni chusa. V'atanya, para shamisa, a para that murdered. The achagach yolda, and after it murdered, it gave birth to an animal. So the animal was in the mother's stomach while the mother committed the murder. Im at shaloi nigmar dina yolda, if the baby was born before Bezdin passes on the mother that she's chayiv misa, then the vlad mutter, because there was no verdict that was issued on the vlad. The vlad was already separate from the mother at the time of the verdict. But imisha nigmar dina yolda, but if it was already nigmar dina and then the baby was born, so the verdict was on the baby as well, then the vlad also. Nis'arev b'acherim b'acherim b'acherim. What if this animal got mixed in many others? The halach is kind to nice alakipa, which sounds very much like Rabbi Yehuda says. Rabbi Lezer, Rabbi Shimon Omer, Mavi Nois and Lebezin, the cycle Noisan. You cycle all of them. Amar Mar. So let's analyze this halacha that we just said, that if it was actually Nikmardinai, the baby was born, so there's no Gemar Din on the baby lives. But if not, no. So the Gemara challenges this. Amar im at shaloi nigmar dina yolda v'loda muter. Frankly, why would you say that? The afal gab de chinacha havis me'aber. When the mother stoiced and killed, the baby was in her stomach. So the baby's also a perpetrator. She's the urba yerachimoy. She's part of the mother that was a perpetrator. So how could you say that it would be potter? Rava taught us that Vlad Hanoigachas Osir. Why? Because he uvlad anakhu. The Vlad of Hanoigachas is also Osir. Because not only did she stoich, the Vlad stoich as well, because the Vlad was part of her when she stoiched. But I'm sorry? It's not because he did something wrong. He was part of the body. It's like saying, I'm not going to kill the foot. I'll only kill the rest of the animal. And the same thing with the Vlad Haner Bas, a Vlad that was near, an animal that was near gets killed. So what about the Vlad of that animal? What if the animal was nervous and got pregnant? That's not what it means. It was pregnant before. Vlad of nervous, also Osir, because he Vlad on Nirbu. So Ibazoid Shver, because we just quoted a brisa that says that even though the Vlad was there, B'Shasta Negicha, as long as the Vlad wasn't there, B'Shasta Gmardin, the Vlad lives. So what's Pshat? It does with the Urbi, but the question is at what point is the critical point, right? Rava seems to say the critical point is when the Ma'aseh Negicha happened. The brisa seems to say the critical point is when the verdict came down, right? So that's the problem. So tomorrow, Ema will change the brisa. What's that? No. The Gemara doesn't make any sense. Amos Aktumar, Im Ad Shaloi Nigmar Dina Ubra Viyolda. If after the mother did the Negicha, then the mother became pregnant and she gave birth, and only then there was a Gmardin, so the baby wasn't around, not by the Negicha and not by the Gmardin, then Vlada Mutter. But Imish Nigmar Dina Ibra Viyolda. But once the mother was already Osir, because it was already nigmar din upon her that the mother has to get killed because she killed a person. So then, image nigmar din ibra v'yolda, and then she gave birth v'lo the osir because of uber yerachim.
Bezdin doesn't take so long to paskin the halacha.
Why would it take? The gestation period of the animal is what, 7 months? How long does it take for an animal to give birth? I talking it should have taken 7 months to. Unless it took them 7 months to catch up with the animal might have been a fugitive. I'm not sure if David's laughing because I said the animal was a fugitive.
Yeah.
But it was what he said. Monty said maybe it was a Toronto Bezdin. That got a bigger laugh.
That's better. Okay.
So he's going to extremes.
Yeah.
Right?
If the Vlad was around, B'Shasta Negicha, for sure the Vlad is going to be Asr. And if the Vlad came after Madabdin, the only time it's mutter. Right. So if the Vlad was born after the Negicha, but before the Gmardin, then it's the only time. It won't. Right, that's a different case. That's a chayiv. Right. That's because now the verdict was on this animal as well, even though this Ibur didn't do anything at all. Right? Wasn't part of the animal. Let's not forget, when an animal became pregnant, after the animal had already had a Gmardin, and the animal's already a Sharniska, you think it's only the mother that creates the child? There's a father here too. So if you hold that when there's 2 koiches over here, nevertheless, the koyach ha'asura will dominate, and it'll be Yosy, if you hold when there's a mother and a father. So it's not pure Isser. It would be mutter. Michael Maimar, once again, why over here would you kill the over? El Marvina will modify it. Ema imachole nigmar dina ibra v'yolda. If before the Gmardin, the mother became pregnant and gave birth, then the v'lo mutter. But if she became pregnant before the Gmardin, and when there was a Gmardin, that's when the baby was born, so the baby was part of the mother during the verdict, then Vlad also, then the Vlad will be also because Uber Yerech Imaihu Here we say uber yerech imoy, and the same way the judgment was on the mother, the judgment was on the child as well. Okay, gewaltig. As Rashi says, umishenik madina yolda vlada aser afal gav duloi have b'shas nagicha, even though this animal was not yet conceived b'shas nagicha, even the have b'shas gemardin, since this baby was conceived b'shas gemardin, nesar b'gemardin im imoy de uber yerechim. So it's not because the mother's aser and the mother's koyach created this child, because that was a goy with the mutter. It's because when the verdict came down, it came down on this child. Zogt Gemara weiter. Kol chayve misos. So the Mishnah said, if there's different chayve misos that got mixed together, you always give them the lesser of the two misos, because you don't know which one they're mechayiv, and you have no right to take someone who's mechayiv a lesser miso and give them a harsher miso. So shmamino, the problem is, let's say a guy did something for which he's chayiv skila. How could you give him shreifa? When they warned him, if you do this avera, they said, if you do this avera, you're going to get skila. They didn't say, if you do this avera, you're going to get chenek. So shmamino musra l'dover chomer, have a musra l'dover kal. You see, automatically, when you warn somebody that he might get skila, it includes every type of misa, because skila is the most chomer to misa. Amir b'yirmiyah, no, you don't have a raya. Because hacha b'may askinon kagoin shisru b'istam. They didn't specify what type of misa. They told him, if you do this aver, you'll be chayiv misa. They didn't say what type. Maybe that's not a good asura. Maybe when you're master a guy, you have to tell him you will be killed with this and this misa. So tomorrow, the high Tana, who it's going according to the Tana, who holds you don't have to specify the misa. The Tanya, b'shar chayiv misa shabbatayra, besides the mesis, and memisa noisan ela be'eda ve'edim, which a mesis needs as well. But the main distinction is v'hasra. All other chiva misas need asra. But ad sheyoidi uhu shohu chayiv misas bezin. They also had to have told him that he was chayiv a misas bezin, but they didn't have to tell him what type. But Rabbi Yehuda Omer ad sheyoidi uhu be'eza misa hunera. So therefore, our Mishnah that says you can give him a misa kala is speaking where you never told him what misa he was going to get when you warned him. And we don't hold like Rabbi Yehuda. And therefore, it's a valid hasra, and therefore you could give him the other misa. Now, where does this machlokes stem from? Tanakama, you know that Tanakama knows that you don't have to tell the person what specific misa he's going to get. Yalaf mi mekoshes. But a mekoshes ate him at the time that he did the avera. Moshe didn't even know what type of misa he was going to get, right? That's why they had to lock him up. So Hashem should tell him what type of misa. So clearly, how could you have ever killed the mekoshes? You could have never had proper asra because you didn't know what type of misa he was going to get. So you have a raya that as long as they warned him that he's going to get misa, even though they didn't warn him what type of misa, that will still be good asra. Mekoshes was a unique scenario of a hayrosh shah, and therefore you cannot bring a raya from. Zok to Gemara weiter. Haniskolin ben Nisrafin. So Niskolin ben Nisrafin masni lei Rabbi Cheskel l'Rami Barei. Rabbi Cheskel was reading over this Mishnah to his son Rami, and the way he quoted it is just like our Mishnah quotes it. It's Hanisrafin ben Niskolin, right? I believe that's the same wording our Mishnah used. It says is no, our Mishnah is Haniskolin ben Nisrafin. You see how our Mishnah is Haniskolin ben Nisrafin. So when he quoted the Mishnah, he quoted it a little differently, and he quoted as Hanisrafin ben Niskolin. What's the difference? The difference is very simple. Nisrafin ben Niskolin sounds like there was a whole bunch of Niskolin, and maybe one or two Nisrafin went in there. So the Roiv was Niskolin. But if the Mishnah says Niskolin ben Nisrafin, then it would sound like Nisrafin were Roiv. So if you would go Basar Roiv, you would go Basar that one. So Zaktamar, he darshaned Nisrafin ben Niskolin. That's how he quoted the Mishnah. Rabbi Shimon Omer, Yadoinu b'skila, they all get skila. Why? Shasreifa chamur. Because shreifa is chamur, and like we said earlier, it defaults to the lower misa. Omer lei Rabbi Yehuda. So Rabbi Yehuda told his father, Abba, lo yisanya hachi, you shouldn't quote the Mishnah that way. You know why? Because my area, the shreifa chamura, Rabbi Shimon explained himself. You know why you get shreifa instead of skila? It's shreifa chamura. Give me that far, because there's many more niskolin. There's many more Niskolim because Nisrafin bin Niskolim. There was a couple of Nisrafin that got mixed into many Niskolim. So typically the Ruben Niskolim. Why don't you just learn? Because you have a Rebbe Niskolim. Why did you need a special reason, Reb Shimon, that Nisrafin is more Chomerdik, so you have to go to Skila, learn the Skila is the right. Reb Shimon held Sreifas Mocham, right? Zok Gemara, so his father asked him back, so what do you want me to say? Elahechi Asanya. So how should I read the case? Haniskolin ben Nisrafin? Reb Shimon Aimer Yadoinu Beskila, even though they're the Miyat, Shashreifa Chamura? So that explains Reb Shimon's halacha. But the Mishnah goes on, and the Mishnah shares with us the Chachamim's halacha. Once you're already saying that we're talking about a case where it was Niskolim and Nisrafim, and the Roy Visreifa, so why did the Rabbanan have to give a reason? Because Skilas Chamura, that's why Sreifa, the Rabbanan could have said, play the Ruba Nisrafim in him. So the same kasha you asked on Rab Shimon in the Reisha, if you switch it around, you'll have that same kasha on the Chachamim of the same. Zok to Gemara, so not the Gemara. Rabbi Yehuda told his father, no, that's not a kasha, because really the Rabbanan hold that the reason why they get shreifa is because the shreifa is right. They spoke out that skila chamura. That's not to explain the Mishnah. That's just to argue in Rab Shimon. Hasam Rabbanan who the Ka'amri Leila Rab Shimon l'didach to Amrit shreifa chamura. We are going what's right, and that's why they get shreifa. But you who tiny the shreifa is chamura, you should know we disagree with you. Lo skila chamura. But that wasn't the reason for their psak. The reason for the psak is right. They just pointed out that they disagree with Rab Shimon about what's more chamur. So what happened over here is Rabbi Yehuda came out pretty tough against his father and corrected a mistake that he made. So Amalei Shmuel Rabbi Yehuda. So Shmuel gave Musar to his Talmud. Shinina, my sharp Talmud. Loi tema loi lavucha. It's not appropriate to speak to your father this way. And Rashi is specifically l'haidiyoi behedya, to tell him to his face, Tati, you're wrong. To Utaya. Mishum nemichsif umitztayr. Because you're making your father feel uncomfortable. My kids learned this Gemara one time or other, and now, like, Tati, we don't want to correct you, Chas v'sholom. I think if we turn to the right, we might not get there. We should probably turn to the left. They're like a GPS, a GPS that never gets frustrated, right? Sometimes if someone else is driving and he's driving the wrong way, you get frustrated. Just turn around, you're shooting already, right? A GPS never ever gets nervous, no matter, you can go always the wrong way, it'll just say turn around and then go, right? Always so gentle. So that's how my children speak to me. So it's not appropriate. The time we learned, what if the father was being over divrei Torah and your son knows halacha? Don't tell your father, Abba, avarta divrei Torah, you were over in divrei Torah. You shouldn't say that. Elo, you know what you should tell him? And more loy, Abba, does it say that in the Torah that what you're doing is right? Frank the word that doesn't sound much better. Soif, hainuhach. You're still being just as nasty. Elo, you know what you should tell him? Omer should tell him, Abba, I want to tell you a pasuk that I learned today. Don't even address directly what he's doing. Just say, if your father's speaking Lashon Hara, just say, Tati, what's pshat in this Gemara over here? So that's how you're supposed to correct your father. Okay, so Baruch Hashem. No, okay, he's on the back. So let's see Rashi inside. Just tell him the halacha. The Emor Loi Avi, my dear father, Mikra Kach V'Kach Kasav Torah. This is what it says in the Torah. That's all you have to say. But don't say you're wrong, you made a mistake. This is what it says in the Torah. Who Atzma Yasim Aliboy Al Mazeh Maskirai. And the father has to be smart enough to understand what it is that his son is referring to. V'achinami ein lach loimer lavich loisesanyach. It's not appropriate for you to tell your father loisesanyach. So now I'm thinking to myself, what would have happened if I would have come on time? You still have another 15 minutes to go. So should we go weiter? Or should we just stop early? What? What does Adam say? Whatever Adam says. We could do this interesting Tosfos here. I wanted to do anyway that Tosfos about the Roiv, because that was a very interesting thing. This is all about over Yerachim. So I don't think we did that Tosfos yesterday fully. We rushed through it. So if we have some time, we'll look through that Tosfos. So going back to the Mishnah, the Gemara said the way Rish Lakish understood our Mishnah that says if a Ritzeach got mixed in with others is a shor that was a Ritzeach got mixed in with other shvarim that were also Ritzchim, except that our shor was not Nigmar Dina. Right? That is how the Gemara learned. So if we look at the first widest line of Rashi, the shor Shalom Nigmar Dina, V'hashta l'Rabbanon kulon peturin. According to the Rabbanon in the Mishnah, when one short that was not Nigmar Dinan got mixed in with a whole bunch of shvarim that were Nigmar Dinan, they're all potter from Misa because Mishum the Ein Goymer Dina shall shar ela b'fan. Right, that was what the Tanna Kama held. Rabbi Yehuda Sovar koinsin oslipa. You don't actually kill them with the seal, rather you just lock them up and hasten their death. The Hikshir Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Mordechai. The Rivam has the following kasha. No, the Rivam is as a Grubner. The Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Mordechai, right? The Peperik Hataruvas, which is in Zvachim, now we had the following case. But here we're saying even if one Ritzeach got mixed up with many Reitzchim, the Tanna Kama holds they're all potter, right? But the problem is in Zvachim it says Tanan Kol Zvachim shenis Arab ben Shor Niskol. What if I had 10,000 kosher karbanos, kosher animals that were going to be brought for karbanos, and the Shor Niskol got mixed into them, and we don't know which one it is? Afilu echad beriba yamusu kulam. Even if it's 1 in 10,000, they all die. Now that's very shverlich, because in our case we say they all live, and they're all Reitzchim. Their 10,000 oxen are regular kosher animals, and you're killing them because of that one that's Ritzach. And here, they're all Reitzchim, and you're not killing them because one of them that wasn't Nigmatin. V'hashto ma'hosam, the rubo da teira, and upsedi the kochim, and still we paskin Omar Yamusu Kulam, hashto in our case, hacha in our case, the rubo de Yisura, they're all usher. They're all usher, and roy them, for sure, udehedit, and we're not even worried about hefsed of kodshim. So lakolshkein, surely it should be killed. So what's shot in the Tanna Kama in the Rabbanon? V'nir because of that reason, the Rivam has a different gears in our Gemara, and he learns Kamoy Shekasav v'Sefer Yoshan Echad, like he found in some old sefer. Bishar Shaloi Nigmar Dinoi Shenisar Bishvar Macher Me'al Yaskin. The case of Rish Lakish is going back to the original case of the Gemara, not where the Shar Shaloi Nigmar Dinoi was mixed in with other Reitzchem Shar, but it's a Shar Shaloi Nigmar Dinoi that got mixed in with a good Shvar, and here you would go Basarov to pater them. So we still need an answer, because why is it that over here you go Basarov to pater, and by Kochim you don't? So we still have to deal with that. The Rabbeinu Tam didn't like the Rivam's shot. The Katani b'Masnisin Kulon Piturin. Kulon Piturin is mashma that Shachayim b'nei Chiyuva. It's mashma, if we're pattering them all, it must be that before this mix-up, they were all chayiv, and now you're pattering. If it's only speaking where you're pattering the ox that got mixed into the other oxen, and there's only one ox that was a it should have said potter. Why did they piturin? Piturin seems that they would have all otherwise been chayiv if not for this mix-up, and this mix-up patters them. So that's the first reason why Rabbeinu Tam doesn't like the Rambam's shot. The time of kulam piturin mashma shachayim b'nei chiyuv. The Afagav, the Gemara doesn't ask this kasher right off the bat. When the Gemara starts to explain that it might be one person that got mixed into other people not chayiv. The Avagav the version of the Shmaitza Kamar Maya Chayim, and the Gemara entertained for a minute. Ilay Machayim Kshayim Shita, and the Gemara asks Pita, but the Gemara doesn't ask V'lei Parach Paturin Patami Boilay. That doesn't mean that kasha couldn't be nasty. It just means the Gemara had a better kasha. Even the Mati Lemifrech Migufa Loy Chash Lameida. Since the Minei Obey it's Pshita, the Gemara didn't even have to ask the question that the wording wasn't right. But Lamaisa, the wording isn't right. So therefore, I disagree with you, Rivam. I disagree with you You cannot learn that our case is where one ox got mixed into many other oxes that were in Gantin pot. That's kasha number one, why Rabbi Tam does not like the Rivam. And there's kasha number two. Reish Lakish, who said it's speaking by Behemoth, is basically referring to Rabbi Vo, and he's just saying, I agree with your case, but it doesn't make sense that it's referring to people, it must be referring to Behemoth. And clearly, in Reish Lakish's case, the case was where he got mixed in with other Reitzchen, except he was not Nigmar Dinai. The Reish Lakish had Ravo Koi, the Meshani Hacha B'Ratzeach, Shalai Nigmar Dinai, Shenisar B'Ratz Mecher Maskina, V'Allah Koi Reish Lakish. And on that, Reish Lakish said, Meshani B'Adam Kula Amal Pligi Debtiri, Dafka by Behemoth. So it's mashma quite clearly from the context. The Bahu in Yana, the Ukma Rabavo B'Adam, the same case that Rabavo explained in reference to a person, Muki Reish Lakish B'Shah. So therefore, Rabbeinu Tam rejects the pshat of the Rivam. Lakach nira kegirshas hasvarim. We have to stick to our girsa, and that is alvolnus arev b'shvarim ma'alya. I'm sorry, and that is it was mixed in with other animals that were nigmar dina. Alvolnus arev b'shvarim ma'alya. What if, in fact, it got mixed in with other oxen that were perfectly normal good oxen? Afilu b'nigmar dinai. Even if this ox was nigmar dinai. So you have an ox that was Nigmar Dina, it has to be killed, it's also Bana, and it got mixed in with a whole bunch of regular animals, got mixed into the pen. Hayomer Rabbeinu Tam, or Hayomer Shlakish, Rabbeinu Tam learned that Shlakish would say, Nich Bishinu, you'll move them around, you'll shake them. I don't know exactly what Nich Bishinu means. Dindi Daidu, they'll all move. And if they all move, they're no longer Kavua. Any animal you take from there, we consider parish. V'chol de parish miruba parish, and you would be able to be soymich on a roiv to say that this animal is mutter. It's not the one that was condemned to death. What about the Mishnah in Avodah Zarah? The Mishnah in the Shuli Avodah Zarah, where all the animals end up getting killed. The mashma, the sharniskal aser b'mashu, that's Mairi b'shaniskal. It's talking about it's a dead animal already. It's meat. It's a piece of meat. So he's not talking about live animals that were mixed together. He's talking about meat that was mixed together. The lekalamemer nich b'shinu, there you can't separate them. They're all there together. They don't move. V'teda, and I'll bring you a raya that's pshat, the loikatani shenigmar dinai. In the case of Zavachim, it doesn't say nigmar dinai. It just calls Zavachim shenis arba and sharniskal. So therefore, it's mashma that it was already dead, so you couldn't have made them purge. Umasnisin Zavachim the katani yamusu kulam. What do you mean that you kill them all? How would you kill them all? They're dead, we're saying. Binis Arv Bizvachim Mairi. It's speaking to the other Mishnah that says Yanusu Kulam. The other Mishnah that says Yanusu Kulam is referring to if it was mixed into other karbonis. Ulegvoya. It's only Aser Legvoya. Ugzera. You know why it's Aser? Why did you do the same thing? Take one night at a time. And then we'll say this is not the one that was Aser. The teretz is you don't do it. You know why? Ugzeir shemi yavoyu asar kanim b'vasachas umaski minakavua lemizbeach. We're afraid 10 kanim will take 10 animals all together and do it, and then they'll be also. If we know they're only going to take one at a time, it wouldn't be a problem. But we're making Ugzeir there, we might have 10 kanim doing it at a time. To each awesome. Normally, I'm reading on this svar of nich b'shinu than medidon. If you let them run around and then you just take one out at a time, you'll say called the parish moving part. Umitamza, because of this theory, Rabbeinu Tam said, Rabbeinu Tam, a very common case. It was very normal for an animal to be attacked by a wolf. What would happen if one of the sheep in the herd was attacked by a wolf? It becomes a treifa, even if it survives. Even if you can't even tell it was even touched. What happens is a zav could come and pounce on a sheep. The shepherd will quickly run after the zav and scare away the zav. Now he has a sheep. If he doesn't separate it from the Eidah, and it's mixed in, he has an animal that's treifa, and it's there's no way to distinguish it from the other animals. So now you have a massive problem with the entire herd. So Rabbeinu Tam held the nir lahatir deruzis hazev beroiv the meisim b'chol yoim the zevim tarfin semina eder the roya matala behema. It happens all the time that the roya saves them. And visharina, and we don't ask it all herd. We say it's mutter. Alpha Gav, the Bayim Chashiv, the Bayim are Chashiv, and they're not bottle b'roiv. A davar choshev is not bottom. So too with birds you have the same issue. The heichad in his Arab Baruba. So here Rabbeinu Tam is coming up with a very innovative chiddush of kula. The heichad in his Arab Baruba, and if it was mixed into roiv, the chayovin, Baruba the chayovin. What if it was mixed in to a roiv of other animals that are chayiv? The patrinon, that we potted them. Afilu naidi. I'm not sure what to say here. Let's figure this out. The heicha din is Arab Baruba. If it was mixed into a roy, the chayovin of animals that are chayiv misa, the patrinon that you also say it's potter. Afilu naidi, even though it's moving and you should go basaroiv. V'loyam rinon called the parish meruba parish. And you don't say called the parish, meruba parish, and therefore you'll say it's usher. Lav piturin the Mishnu Banakamar. These piturim that we say it's potter, we don't say it's potter and it's mutter bahana, because it's still a suffix sharnisko. Ela piturin the laterchu beidina laharv. So all it means is that you wouldn't make the best and kill them, even though you have a roiv to say so, because why be matriach them? They will be asher bana, because automatically they become asher bana once they kill somebody. But you don't kill them. The chamis is by them. Chamis is ashar. Since we wouldn't kill the bailam under these circumstances because we're not able to make a gmardin. So too, we wouldn't be able to make a gmardin on the shore. Another svara why we would assert here is the laisi lechlufe ba'adam. We don't want you to make a mistake and think that by an adam you would kill them. The ba'adam, if we would kill them all, so people would think, oh, when you mix one that's chayiv, the one that's potter with many that are chayiv, you kill them all. And we know you don't do that. The ba'adam kulam aloi pligi the petiri. Everybody agrees that if there's 10 roitzchim in the bunch, and one of the roitzchim didn't have a gemar din, everybody agrees that you don't kill any of them. But if you would kill all the animals under those same circumstances, we're afraid somebody might make a mistake and apply that same halacha to people. But by people, the ba'adam kula amal pligi the petiri. Teda b'yirayah. Rabbi Yehuda amai koytin oishel lekipa. According to Rabbi Yehuda, the whole they all got killed. Why do you kill them in this indirect fashion? And that causes avatar b'lachayim. You're starving these animals to death. You have a whole bunch of dead animals that ruins this whole culture. It causes a lot of problems. It would be so much easier to kill them once and for all, quickly. And then they're out of your way. Why don't you do that? The reason why you don't do that is because if you kill the animals, we're afraid that in the same circumstances with people, you would kill them as well. And therefore, to make a hecker not to kill the animals directly, you part the animals. Okay, and then there's a whole chapter entire about it. But Tosh's main yisoid is that if you have one treifa that got mixed in with many others that are kosher, we will let the animals move around and we take one at a time, so you could say called the parish from Ruba parish, and you can be matter each of the animals. Okay, we'll stop here. Okay, Dovi, what's today's year?